Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. Welcome to this Product People live stream. We're just going to make a few last checks before we can start. All right, so I think we can begin. Before we start, please remember that you can see the stream on different platforms. We're live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitch. And also a reminder that this talk will be recorded. So if you want to watch it again or share it afterwards with someone else, it's going to be on our YouTube channel. We also have a Slido running for you if you want to give us some insights or comments, and you're going to be able to ask your questions directly to the speaker from there. So I think we can start. Today I have the pleasure of introducing you our speaker for today, Marcel Sandoval. Marcel is a Spanish-Venezuelan product leader in the world of advertising technology, with experience in large established global companies as well as smaller organizations. And he is currently working as a CPO for a bootstrapped scale-up that focuses on high growth markets. Before I hand it over to him, just let me briefly introduce myself and Product People. My name is Marta. I'm a host today. My background is unconventionally in cognitive neuroscience, and I worked for about 10 years in academia before transitioning to product management about 4 years ago. And my experience is mostly in B2B companies, and now I work at Product People as an associate product management consultant. So what do we do at Product People for those of you who still might not know us? Our mission at Product People is to help companies discover and deliver great products faster. So we empower our product management community to share knowledge while managing the hands-on work of a product manager, product owner, product ops, or product leaders on a fractional basis. We onboard fast, we align teams and deliver outcomes thanks to our in-house team of 42 PMs. And we also curate free events like this one for what's become one of the largest PM communities in Europe. We have reached over 60,000 members. And that's our way to give back to the community. So to get into the topic of today's talk, let's just do a quick icebreaker before we start. So we have a question for you that is related to the topic of Marcel's talk. Again, you can open Slido and scan the QR code or enter the numerical code you see there on the screen. Or you can just share your comments and answers in the chat or whatever platform you're following us from. So our question for you today is, what defines a strong product offering beyond just features? And I'm very curious to see what the most popular answer would be for this one. So we have lined up a few options for you. A is a compelling value proposition. B, a seamless end-to-end customer experience. C, marketing and external positioning. D, business model alignment and pricing. Or E, an off-the-shelf solution to a customer pain or need. So as I said, I'm very curious to see what answers I'm going to have. I'm going to answer myself. And we're going to be waiting for a few more moments for more answers. And let's see what we get. In a few moments, we're going to be sharing the results. Just seeing what answers come up. I'm curious to see whether the results are going to be something expected or surprising for you, Marcel. So let's see what.
I wonder, I think everyone might be wondering why there's not an all of the above.
I was thinking the same. I was thinking the same.
But it's, sometimes you have to make tough decisions as a product manager. So just another example.
Exactly. The most important one for you. Which one would that be? Let's see what we get. You can see answers coming in. I'm just gonna wait a few more moments to get a few more so that we can form some conclusions. We can't discuss which one do you think is going to be most important one, because we don't want to bias anyone. So I think what my answer was, but I'm not going to say that yet. It's like there's a derby between a couple of responses that are at the top. So let's see what we get. So for me, not surprisingly, the first option A, is the clear winner. Followed by, so a compelling value proposition is the clear winner of the poll today, with followed by option B, seamless end-to-end customer experience, and then E, an off-the-shelf solution to customer pain. So I don't know how much of this is expected or surprising for you. I can't wait to hear what your thoughts are on this. So without further ado, I'm going to give you the stage. Meanwhile, feel free to keep using Slido for your questions to Marcel, and I will share them afterwards, after his talk. So thank you so much, Marcel, for joining. And I'm very curious to see what you think about expanding the role of product. So over to you.
I wonder if we've fallen victims of first choice bias, but not story for another time. Good. So first of all, thank you for inviting me to the product people team. I can highly recommend participating actively in the community. I've attended some of the in-person events, and I can testify that's great to be part of. So today we're going to be talking about offering over features, and this is pretty much a situation that, or a journey that I have been in the past few months, I would say. And many of you may hear what I say and may say, this is very obvious, and this is something that you had very clear from the start in your product career. In my journey, I've been doing product for 6 years or so in different companies. The first one was a relatively well-established tech company, founder-led, and they had a very, I would say, with a lot of love, dogmatic way of doing things. Then I moved I moved to a different company, and the interesting thing is that the second company that I worked for, the founders had worked on the first company. So they worked in a very similar way, and they brought along some of the same ways of working. So now I'm in a different company. We're in a smaller company, and that I think has been what's triggered me to think about things in a different way. So without further ado, philosophical question of what is a product, right? So it's, I think, a very common running joke in the product management community that you are a product manager, and it's very hard to explain to your friends and family first what is a product manager and what do we do. But even starting with the first word, what even is a product, right? So, doing some research, I think everyone or most people respect Marty Kagan's opinion and Silicon Valley's product group. And they describe a product as, a combination of the customer, the business, and the technology. and they talk about the risks that you have to manage in order to deliver a successful product. On the customer side, they talk about the usability of the product, right? So when you build a product, you need to think about how the customers will engage with the product, and whether they will be able to achieve the goals that your product is set out to help them achieve. On the technology side, we talk about feasibility risks. So, product managers and designers might come up with amazing ideas, but if the engineering team thinks it's not possible to implement, or it's not viable to implement in a cost-efficient way, then you don't have a product, right? Then viability on the business side, and this is where I think, in my experience, in my first two companies especially, the product mindset was especially focused on usability and feasibility from a technical and customer perspective. But from a business perspective, you also have to have viable product that you can bring to the market. And here, it's not just about whether customers are willing to pay for it, which of course that needs to be there, but it's whether you have the organizational support on the business side to make the product successful, right? Because when you have a product, to make it viable as a business, it's not just the customers are willing to pay for it, it's the whole go-to-market strategy, right? So the marketing, the sales team is enabled to sell it, et cetera, et cetera. So we ultimately go to the value, right? What is the value that we're trying to bring? And in product management circles, of course, we always say start with the why type of quote, and we say it a lot, but sometimes we forget. And maybe we say we're very customer centric, which is super important, but it's equally important to think about the business. It's equally important to think about the tech part. And so value doesn't just mean value of a specific part of it, but value as a whole. And so I'm going to give you some examples or some kind of practical cases of my experience where we changed the mindset and it helped us think differently when we do product discovery and when we think about how to provide that value to the customers. But before I do that, I'm going to give you a very, very clear difference between a product and an offering. So imagine this product. You have a set of product features. You can buy fresh grocery products. So you can buy some raw chicken, you can buy some rice, some chili flakes, some green beans, some ginger, some soy sauce. You can get it delivered to your house very efficiently in 20-30 minutes. And you can do it all in your phone. So you have a mobile app where you can handle the purchase orders, you can handle the payments, you can explore what's available. So with this combination of features, there's actually a lot of offerings that you can do. And I gave two specific examples. One of them is Flink. I don't know if you're all familiar with Flink, but essentially it's a German, or I think it's German. It's popular in Germany anyway. Grocery delivery app. So essentially, it's a supermarket-like experience where you want to buy fresh ingredients and they deliver it to your house very fast. And in the other hand, speaking of German examples, HelloFresh, right? So the big difference with HelloFresh is that it's a meal kit, right? So you want to do your chicken wok, for example, and then you buy these ingredients, and the, let's say, features and products that you're buying in both cases are the same, but the offering is very different, right? Because HelloFresh focuses on delivering meal kits that you can kind of choose from, and they will deliver the ingredients that make up that meal. Whereas in Flink, you will choose yourself what you want. And of course, quantities are also a big part of this, but I think this kind of shows what the difference is between features and how different features or the same features can be packaged in different ways. So I'm going to talk a bit about our journey at Eskimi. And in order to do that, I need to try to help you understand the intricacies of advertising technology. but I can tell you it's a bit of a mess. In general, advertising is a connection between two parties. One of them, the advertisers, are brands or companies that want to promote their services or products by placing ads, right? So this kind of definition is true since the beginning of advertisement in digital, but also beyond that. So print, TV, you have someone that wants to promote something, and then you have the publishers. You basically are talking about companies that own user attention or user traffic, let's say, and they want to make money out of that by selling that space for advertising. So long time ago, it could be, you own a wall through which a lot of people walk by, and then you sell it to someone that wants to put a poster there. That evolved into print. Similar principle. You have readers of a newspaper, and then you have people that want to monetize the reader's attention on the newspaper with ads. Nowadays, as you can imagine, in digital environments, so when you go to a website, when you open Netflix, for those that want to save €2 a month in the subscription, or when you open a mobile app or YouTube, you see ads, and the whole ecosystem is very complex. So this is what I call the ad tech cloud. And just to show you just how much this gets complicated, I pulled a Lumescape from news or a media publication of the industry in Spain called Programmatic Spain, and it essentially shows how many companies do different things in ad tech. And this, I can tell you, is not a complete list. So there are many actors. Of course, some are more focused on providing services and technology to the advertisers. Some are focused on providing technology to the publishers. And many are focused on connecting the two, enhancing with different features and enhancing with different technology offerings. So in our case, we have our technology, which is both for the advertisers as well as for the publishers. And historically, I used to think that products were seen or products were really a collection of features that you had to build yourself, right? So as I was mentioning, I was coming from a company that was founder-led, a very smart guy that essentially invented the industry as we know it nowadays. And so everything was pretty much, what can we build, right? What can we deliver from an engineering perspective? Everything needed to be proprietary. It was essential, right? So it wasn't even conceived that we would use someone else's tech. And the product essentially was the tech, right? So when we talked about product equals tech. If there's no, something in GitHub that you can see for the product, there's no product. But that also meant that our limits were what we could build. And I'm not necessarily talking only about what you can build in terms of capabilities, but also in terms of time, right? Because there will be things that you for sure will be able to figure out eventually, but there's an opportunity cost in all of the time that it takes you to bring that feature to the market, right? So when you, as a product manager, in the previous way that I was thinking about it, we're thinking about, I want to deliver this product to my customers. I always had the thinking of, I need to build something, well, the team needs to build something, and wasn't too open to exploring potential solutions. So in the end, one might think this is a classic debate of build versus buy in a certain way, which it is to a certain point. I think build versus buy normally focuses on licensing things that you don't necessarily want to build yourself. So especially now with the rise of generative AI. For development specifically, I think a lot of companies are considering whether SaaS is necessary in many cases, and they can quickly create their own CRM or their own ticketing system. But I'm talking about more fundamental features of the core business, right? So in our case, the DSP, which is the campaign management tool for advertisers, the SSP, which is the monetization tool for publishers, and the DMP, which is audience building capabilities. Those were all our own technology. And over time, and I will caveat by saying, Eskimi, which is the company I currently work for, we are in a very particular situation because we focus on high growth markets. So we operate very actively in Africa, in Eastern Europe, in Southeast Asia, which are regions where the giants of the market don't generally pay a lot of attention to, because they get more ROI of investing in markets like the US, like Germany, like the UK. And so we are in a position where a lot of the clients that we have access to don't necessarily have access to the tools that other clients in other markets would. And with that in mind, we started slowly but surely saying, well, we have a client that has a problem. They are willing to hire us to solve their problem, but the problem that they have is very specific to another technology. So I will give you an example. In our world, you can only buy Facebook ads using Facebook technology. In our world, you can only buy YouTube ads using YouTube technology. And so in the end, there are certain things that you either do it with someone else's tech or you don't do it at all. But the beauty then becomes, how do you combine different things in a unique way? There's a very interesting book called Shots, and they talk about basically two ways of innovating. So you can either do something that no one has ever done before, which comes with its own challenges, because then you need to build a market for it. So again, it's not just a feature. You need to do all of the work that kind of goes after. Or you can do things in a different way. So, with that mindset in mind, me and my team, we started thinking, okay, we have clients that are coming to us and clearly saying, this is what I expect, or this is what I want to achieve. I am not able to achieve it in a comfortable way or at all, and I'm willing to pay to achieve this. And so the offering becomes more of a strategic mix of tools and features, and the success is really about solving the problem, right? And this also is something that we've invested a lot of time on improving, not just with new things, but also with the existing things. Because before, and again, the industry that we operate in, advertising technology, is highly complex. There's a lot of different bits and pieces of features and functionality. And in the end, the amount of things that you can do is very, very wide. But another, again, reality of the business that I work in right now is that it's more sales driven than product driven. And so the packaging is very, very important. And there's a lot of competition. And most of us do something very similar. And in the end, if you go to a client and say, I have all of these 25 super features that are amazing, you choose which one you use to make your life easier. That model doesn't work too well in the type of clients that we work with, which are advertising agencies. And so instead, what we needed to do is kind of rethink that approach and say, okay, if we talk to, let's say, a tourism vertical focus agency, we, based on our experience, know or imagine what is the best combination of features that will better fit for their use case. And we will package it that way so that we go and say, hey, this is a ready-made solution for your problem, instead of, we have the tools for you to solve the problem, but you still need to figure out which tools you need to use. And so, from a product perspective, and you might be wondering, as a product manager, what this kind of mean for me is, there's still, I think, a lot of room to drive impact and to tap into opportunities as a product manager by designing an offering and not only a set of features. Because as I was showing before, the same set of features can make different offerings. And there's actually, I read about this example in LinkedIn recently, where they actually decided to create two separate companies which had the exact same code base, but all of the branding, all of the kind of packaging and go-to-market was different, different name of company, but the product and code base was kind of the same, which shows, with the same thing you can do different things. So, in our company, I would say it's not a done deal. It's still a journey. Especially, we have some people that have been in the company for a long time. We have some people that build the company as it is right now. And so, mindset shift is not something that happens overnight. But instead of thinking, or what we want to get to is, instead of thinking what we can do as technology, right? So, if a client asks us, can you do X? Most people in their mind, they would envision, in our platform, is there a button that I click and it does X? But another reality of our business model is that we do a lot of managed service. So when a client asks us if we can do something, they aren't necessarily focused on whether we can do it with our tech, but more whether we can achieve that outcome for them. And it's important then for the team to think not what our tech can do, but what we can do as a company that's providing a service and a product to a client. And this, again, is something that took me a while to interiorize, that especially in certain businesses, product and services are very intertwined. And to a certain extent, the service is part of the product, right? And so that opens up a lot of possibilities on what you can do. And so what I want to get, and again, it's still a journey, is for our team to think not what tech can we build, but what value can we build for our customers. So just to wrap it up, the important thing that I learned, that I thought was relevant to share, and I imagine there's a lot of people that have had a lot of experiences and this is obvious for them, but coming from the companies that I come from, I certainly know that there's a lot of other people that still live with the mindset of build, and feature. And the reality is, depending on the industry that you work in, most of the customer base will be looking for value. They will be looking for outcomes. And yes, you need features. Don't get me wrong. Features are very, very, very important, but features are important as the building block of the offering that you want to build. But the thing is that you need the offering around it, because the users want the solutions, not the building blocks, right? So imagine, you want to buy a building, and a client, and you go to a vendor and they say, here are the bricks, here is the cement, here is everything that you need. You can have the building here, right? Like, there will be companies that are willing to go through that, but most of the companies are looking for efficient, ready-made solutions. And especially there's the human component of customers really wanting to be understood, right? If you are buying a car, and you go, you're buying a car because your family is growing, and you go to a car salesman, you are likelier to purchase a car with a salesman that understands the transition that you're going through, and understands that you need a bigger car because you have a family, this car has better safety features, etc., 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 than a salesman that potentially just lists all of the features in various cars and kind of leaves it up to you to decide what you think is the better fit. And in the end, I guess this is, depending on the company, some people are more calling it product marketing, product commercialization. But the important message that I wanted to share from my experience is that one doesn't live without the other. And it's very important that we pay attention to that. And as a product manager, and literally I was doing planning session with my team today and talking about this, is that especially if you are in a situation that allows you to not use or to be faster and to deliver value with third-party tech potentially. I know there are circumstances where the tech is what the client buys, and that's perfectly fine, but it's not always the case. And in the end, you should always start with the offering. Think about what value you want to bring to the client or the user, which are not always the same, as you well know, and then work backwards. Because you might find that some of the features that you want or that you need to build that offering, you already have. You might find that some of the features that you need to build that offering are already available in an accessible, cost-effective, sustainable manner. Very, very, I guess, real example. Probably most, if not all of you, are experimenting of how to incorporate AI into your technology. I assume no one is considering building their own LLMs. You're just taking LLMs that are available. But you could build an LLM, right? But why? That's kind of course, an extreme example, because there's a lot of other examples like that. So yeah, my advice to my team and my learning that I can share with you is it's very important to start with the offering and work backwards. First, because you might find opportunities in your existing feature set that are not being tapped into, and together with your marketing team, together with your sales team, together with your services team, you might be able to create a new offering out of existing things, which is amazing. I think everyone knows how scarce and how limited engineering resources usually are. So if we can build something new without actually building anything, that's even better. But then it will also make sure that you're building the right thing. So I can actually share last example. Recently, speaking of AI, we were building a product that basically reporting insights solution for our product. And we had a whole plan of how to implement it. And it was going to take quite a bit of time, I would say. And in the end, when we were about to start it, on a different team, there was some new discoveries in the realm of AI and how we could use AI to create more dynamic layers. And because we had for that product started with the offering, we had a really clear understanding of what the value add was for the client. It was very an easy decision for us to say, look, let's pause everything we were planning on doing, and let's do this instead, because we get the same value in a different way. It's a different type of feature, but it's much more efficient. We can get a result and a prototype faster, and it still solves and delivers the value that we wanted to bring. So starting with the value and the offering, I guess, also helps you be fluid and react to new ways of delivering that value, which especially nowadays in the age of AI, where things change really fast, it allows you to stay fluid and to adapt to new things and new developments. So with that, I think that is all for me. I am open to questions. And before I do that, I will say I'm only talking from my experience. I am not an all-knowing expert, but I will try my best to share my experiences with you.
Thank you so much, Marcel. Thank you, everyone else, for listening as well. It was very insightful, and I'm sure that most of the audience will agree that it's been really, really interesting to hear your thoughts, and probably a lot of us wish that more funders would think as you think and as your funders thought as well. So we're going to start our Q&A session, but we're going to give people a few more minutes to type in their questions. So everyone feel free to go back to Slido and ask any question you might have, or put them in the chat again. So while we wait for a few more questions to come in, let me just take some time to share a couple more slides about product people. So let's talk about use cases where you might want to work with us. So our interim product managers and product owners and product leaders, we cover parental leaves. We can scale up your product management team quickly, or lead key initiatives while bridging the gap until you hire a full-time employee. We cover parental leaves for anything between 3 and 12 months, or any unstaffed permanent position. And with us, you can get temporary help to drive product discovery and delivery when you have on a deadline, and create big impact in a short time. We can also coach your product management team to reach their full potential through streamlining processes from 0 to 1, including product operations and program management. And we can also assist you with running discovery to uncover the next impactful initiative or product or feature in your company. Here you can see some of the B2C clients that we work with, such as eBay, Tier, FreeNow, DeepL, and more. And when it comes to B2B clients, we work with companies like the World Health Organization, Omitria, Satisfy, Elucidat, and more. And last but not least, let me share some important statistics of our company. We have supported more than 300 cross-functional teams in more than 70 clients, from Series A startups all the way to publicly listed companies. We do that with our 42 in-house product leaders and product managers that deliver high-quality services to our clients. And we take pride in having 62% women in the team, with 16% in leadership roles. So we're going to start our Q&A session now. You still have time to share your questions with us, either sending them in the chats or on Slido. So let's see what questions we get. I personally thought it was a really insightful talk. As I said before, I saw you were talking a lot about ad tech, but I saw obviously a lot of those things you mentioned can be applied to a lot of different industries, especially in B2B. And I found interesting that sometimes, as you mentioned, like companies are very focused on delivering features. And so very often that comes from the founders themselves when they're super enthusiastic with ideas. And I think the thought you share about switching to think about the outcomes and thinking about the value you deliver is super interesting also, because it helps focusing the new features idea into something like, does it deliver that value that we said we would deliver? So super interesting. So we have one question here. So when expanding the role of product beyond feature to a full offering, what are the biggest challenges you faced in aligning cross-functional teams like marketing, sales, and customer success to deliver that unified value? How did you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I think it's probably the key to success, right? Because especially sales and marketing are the key to knowing what the offering needs to be and what are some of those elements that you need. I would say on the marketing side, I would say not a lot of challenges, because they are very happy, and I'm lucky to have a wonderful marketing team. They sometimes have been the type of marketing team that talks about things before they exist, which for a long time was very frustrating, but it also kind of pushed the limits of creativity. I guess that's a good thing. But yeah, marketing, very, very important to get the messaging and the packaging right, because the offering is really about the storytelling. And so, they need to be part of the process since the beginning. I think that was a lesson that sometimes we learned painfully, that we were kind of ready, let's say, with all of the ingredients to have the offering, but because we didn't include marketing early on, we weren't ready when we wanted to be ready. So very important to include, especially if you have product marketing, but anything that you want to also create and share externally, you need marketing early on. I would say sales and customer success. We had some interesting situations of, I would say, initial pushback from some of the people that had been in the company for the longest time, and they were in this mindset of, I don't feel comfortable, talking about a solution that doesn't use our own tech. Also, in some cases, because of how the industry works, in some cases we would incorporate the tech of companies that essentially would be our competitors, and in certain cases their clients could just go directly to them. So it's very important to bring them along the journey of also believing in that value that we're trying to create, because if they don't believe in it, no one will believe in it, because they are the people that talk to client. Customer success is, I would say, also important to bring along, because for a long time, the tools that they had to support our clients were our tools. And there was a big barrier of, I would say, adoption to incorporate other tools as part of their standard operating process. For a long time at the beginning, they were considering, it's a kind of a side thing, a one-off thing. And so we had to do a very clear set of expectations to make sure that it's, when we build an offering around a product that might not be our tech, you need to consider that tech as part of the things that you need to do to deliver that value for the client. So alignment of expectations is super important, but especially all around this process is trainings, as many as humanly possible, and repetition, because you can't rely on sharing the message, sharing the mindset shift once, but also examples, right? Because talking about, oh, we're going to use third-party tech, that in itself is kind of scary. But if you go and say, hey, we've built this offering, for this particular piece of the offerings, we're using third-party tech, people see how it ties in together and the value that it helps bring, and that we wouldn't be able to deliver that value potentially without that third-party tech. So I will say in product, all of your problems are kind of shared or solved by oversharing. So no exception here.
Thanks. You mentioned there were some pushback from sales. I'm curious to know if you had to push back some of the sales requirements for features in as well, like when you
Yes.
started. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think this, like, to think about offerings, it's almost sales driven in the end, right? So, some of the pushback I had to them, I would say, is on that, like, the actual value or the actual importance of building versus using something else, right? So that was I would say, is a constant negotiation. And I would say sometimes it is just about bringing something to market quicker while you decide whether to invest into your own tech eventually, because of course for other tech you always have to pay and whatnot. So it's really about being faster to market as well. As I mentioned, there are cases where you don't have another choice, but yeah.
Yeah, we had a comment of someone that joined late. I just wanted to reassure everyone that we are recording this, so it's going to be on our YouTube channel after the talk, so you can go and watch back. We have one more question. What steps can I take to break into product management roles from a non-technical background? Do you have any insights on that?
Great question. And I think if I had to say, which type of background this talk can be most interesting for, I would say exactly if you are in a non-tech background, you are in a bit of an advantage, not to say advantage, but people from tech backgrounds maybe are more focused on building, and kind of what you can do with your code, with your tech. And if we think about offerings instead, building an offering around the value that you bring to the client, the combination of different assets and features that already exist. I think that's a perfect example of how to drive value as a product manager without being technical. There might be things that you need to do technical scoping with your engineering lead, but this is exactly kind of validating the point that you can bring value to a company. You can create a product by just combining things because of your understanding of the client and of the value that you want to bring.
Yeah, and I can testify, like with a background in academia and cognitive neuroscience, I think at product people, we have a lot of different backgrounds. And I think that's one of the superpowers that we have, because we bring different perspectives. And I think it's great that product managers can have very different backgrounds as well. One more question for you, Marcel. How do you build offerings to fit bigger audience when your business used to be built around custom made per customer? Sorry.
This is an interesting question. So I would first ask you the question back of, is the problem that you want to solve the offering versus feature, or is the problem that you want to solve that they are very custom made for customers? The reason why I say this is, if you build a business around the mentality of packaging features into offerings, that actually lends itself to a lot more flexibility when it comes to creating custom packages for clients, because you don't need to do anything. You have, imagine a set of 10, 15 features, they all achieve different things, and a client has a specific use case that's covered by 7 of those. You can create an offering for them. And you then also empower the sales teams and specifically a role of something like solutions engineering to think what is the right combination of features to put in front of that client, so that it seems that it's very tailor-made, but it's really just a subset of the features that you would create in a more global offering. If the answer is more how you build the offering to fit bigger audience, I think in this case, the response, I would say it's kind of the same, but from the opposite angle of, when you build an offering, you still need to get all of the different bits and pieces. And if, of course, it's kind of aligned with the overall vision of the company, what the customer specific use case is, you still will benefit from the bits and pieces that are being developed, because they're being developed with that mindset of stitching things together, instead of kind of a juggernaut of a product that when you want something more specific, you will need to do it separately.
Yeah, that's interesting. And it's also very interesting. I mean, you obviously were talking about how you created these different offerings, having a set of features and then repackaging them, let's say, for different customers in different ways. But I think keeping doing that switch to thinking about the offering is super important, even if you have just one offering, right? And you keep thinking about that offering as your kind of guiding, when you're thinking about your features, do those features actually fit that offering? And so it's kind of your guide for whatever you're building next. Mm-hmm. Super interesting. Okay, so I don't see more questions coming. So I think we can move on. So we at the end of this, thank you everybody for joining. Thank you so much, Marcel, for sharing your insights with us. We also like to mention that we are hiring currently, so we have associate and product management consultant positions open. and you can apply by scanning the QR code on the screen. And also, I would really encourage everyone to subscribe to our newsletter, where we share all the insights and the experiences that we are gaining during our missions with clients. And coming up next, we have next week our next live stream with Tim Price, who is going to be talking about how working as a CPO changed his view of B2B product strategy. So make sure to join us next week as well. Thank you very much again. Thank you, Marcel, for again sharing your interesting talk with us. Thank you, everybody else, for joining. And we hope to see many of you next time. Thank you. Bye. And